Welcome back to Disabled Farm School. Oh, the camera is focusing on Joni Mitchell. Interesting. Why? That's a woodcut of a face that my aunt made, and you're recognizing it as a face. Interesting. Let's see. Is that better? Hello, this is my face. Down here. Yes, thank you. Turn that around. I guess it doesn't matter since we're not monetized yet. That sign is like a floral drawing and it says 0 bleeps given, except that's not what it says. Found it at a thrift store for $1. And it helps remind me to not take myself too seriously. Welcome back to Disabled Farm School. I am Rachel, your local disabled farmer, or probably not local because you're watching this online. And today, as a new YouTuber, I'm very excited to be doing something that I didn't actually think I would do. Hi. Little tappy toes. The dog has arrived. I'm doing something today that I didn't think I would do as a gardening and DIY and craft accessibility channel, which is an unboxing video. This is not sponsored because I am a new YouTuber and don't have enough followers yet to get sponsorships from even companies that I really love, like Fedco Seeds, which is who this is from. I buy from them every year. This is not sponsored. That's just who I love. So if you want to help get this channel to become something that can really be my job and therefore really share information on all kinds of accessible drinking of water by dogs. Anyway, subscribe, share with your friends. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and wow, do I feel like a very, very YouTubery millennial today saying things like that and doing an unboxing video. But let's get to it because don't worry, it's not just an unboxing video. We are actually going out into the garden. This is the first in a series of container gardening videos. So if you are working with a balcony or a little patio, or a lot of gophers like me, or you find gardening in containers more physically accessible, or alternatively, less physically accessible to, say, your small children who tend to pull up all your plants. If you can get a container up on something, sometimes that helps. And then when you want them to help you harvest, you can bring it down or have someone who can do that physically, bring it down. Containers are often available at nurseries secondhand. Like they have the old stuff that they're not going to use anymore for cheap or free, or at your local salvage yard, or your neighbors probably have some if they have outdoor space around. And remember when I say neighbors, if you're in an apartment building, I mean like maybe somebody a block over has some. So ask on your Buy Nothing group, get some big 5-gallon containers and let's get growing. Okay, so I was so excited when this package came. I haven't done this in years, and I've never done it in my own garden. I've always done it on farms that I worked at. Let's open the package. First of all, live plant material, do not freeze. Love that. So welcome home to my new friends, seed potatoes. Genuinely am so excited. Oh yeah. Look at that. They're starting to sprout. So we have 2 varieties here. These are called the Red Maria, and they are a red potato. It's kind of hard to tell because they are also they have like soil dust on them. These are called Soraya or Soraya. They are a smaller yellow potato. Let's see what our instructions say. These could be cut, but I actually don't have enough containers to make it worth cutting them, but you could cut them because every eye could be a sprout. Potatoes are tubers, so they grow off of the underground part of the stem. My understanding, if I remember correctly, is if you want to slice them, then you need to put the open side that you've cut into like ash, or I think sometimes people do flour, but I think ash helps basically seal it off from fungal diseases getting in. That's also why I have ordered seed potatoes and not gone to the store and gotten potatoes. You can do that, but even if they're organic, they're not guaranteed to be fungus and disease free. And this plant in general can be prone to carrying over diseases from the year before, especially because they live in the ground, where there's lots of cool fungal partners for our plants, but also sometimes ones that we don't want in there. It's awesome to start, if you can afford to buy seed potatoes, They don't usually come in small amounts. This is the smallest amount, each of these bags that I could order, and they do cost money to ship because they're heavy and they're alive. But if you can, at least start your first year with seed potatoes because they're guaranteed disease-free. They were grown for this express purpose with people who were making sure and testing for and preventing those diseases. So it gives you a good fresh start. I think we're gonna plant these today in some giant containers. The thing I love about container gardening potatoes is, like I said, they are a tuber. So they grow off of the underground part of the stem. And that means that, and you may be familiar with this, that potatoes have to be hilled. So what that means is if you plant them in rows, then you're coming along and every time the stem above ground gets to be like 6 to 8 inches, maybe a little more, you pile some dirt up it. So 3 to 6 inches is poking out. And that allows the parts that would become leaves or like leaf stalks, I guess, to become instead underground tubers that grow the potatoes. And you do that over time so that the above ground plant can continue to grow up towards the sun. You don't want to totally bury it or it can't photosynthesize. You can do the same thing in containers, and it is in a lot of ways way easier on your back, or at least it's easier on mine. Because potatoes are growing in ground, hilling them can be exhausting, but digging them is also this sort of fraught process of trying to get all the way under and pull them out of the soil without slicing through them with your shovel. Whereas if you grow them in a container, you, your kids, your neighbors, whoever, can just dump out the container, either on the ground, on your patio, on a tarp. Just look through for the potatoes. They don't get sliced up, and then you can put that soil either back in the container and grow a different crop in there, so rotate crops to help keep those soil and microbial and insect balances. Or you can sterilize the potting soil, which is a different process that involves your oven. It doesn't smell great, but you can do it. So you can look up how to do that if you want, and then reuse it right away without needing to think too much about anything disease-wise being in it. So let's go plant some potatoes. Okay, I gotta read. Plant 4 to 6 inches deep, every 12 to 18 inches in rows 36 inches apart. So what that tells me is that the minimum amount of space that this potato needs on either side of it is 12 inches. So that gives me an idea of the diameter of my container that I'm looking for. But they're all deep, and I'm gonna start with just like a little bit of soil at the bottom, right? 4 to 6 inches deep. So I'm probably gonna put 6 to 8 inches of soil in there and plant this 4 to 6 inches deep. Every few weeks, every 2 weeks, when they're 6 to 8 inches, I'm gonna add some soil. I'm gonna repeat that a few times until I get to the top of my container, or until about 30 days after the emergence. So it's either till I get to the top of my container or till they've been in there for a month, or when blossoms begin forming. So that's a lot easier to remember because it's, if you can see a visual cue, if you can feel a tactile cue. I'm talking fast today because I have very limited energy, but I'm really excited to do this. And so I want to like get it all in. Feel free to watch this at like reduced speed if you need to. It's down here, I think. You can adjust the speed of the video. These instructions say stop hilling after 30 days after the sprout comes up, not after you plant it, sorry, after emergence of the sprout. So after you see leaves and green above ground, or when blossoms begin forming. This says to mulch them. So we have some straw, and you can do that at the end. Once you've stopped hilling them, you can mulch them. And then I believe you're looking for either dieback or like the leaves starting to yellow. Dump out the pot once the tops bloom and then die back, and harvest the tubers for eating and for seeding another pot. So you can store them and then seed them. I chose these potatoes because they are types of potatoes that I like to eat, but also because they were listed as good storage crops that tolerate very high heat because it gets very hot here. If I need that information refreshed, I keep my seed catalog all year because the plant descriptions in there are incredible, which in this case is the Fedco seed catalog. We're gonna go collect some containers, get some soil into the bottom third of them. I'm gonna use a mix of existing potting soil that I have out and some in-ground soil. Yeah, we're gonna get our potatoes in containers. What do you think, Junie? Should we plant some potatoes? Potato time, potato time. Potato, potato, potato time. You don't like my song? You don't like my song? Ooh! Potato time, potato time. Oh! Potato time, good girl. Nah, I've convinced you. I've convinced you that it's a good song. We go. I found 2, 4, 8, and then this one is 9 containers. About half of these are these big, like 20 gallon. I think they're 20 gallon. And then a few are the 5 gallon, this size. I tried sweet potatoes in these last year. It wasn't enough space for them, but it might be enough space for potatoes because I think I've done this before, and you do get, especially the smaller potatoes, like the ones I'm growing, you still can get a bunch of them in there. And the big ones, I'll do some, like half as sweet potatoes and half as potatoes. Yeah, I think that's the plan. This is a cool way to adapt breaking up clay soil to put it into the containers to your ergonomic needs. I'm sitting in a chair and I used the shovel in ground to put some in-ground soil into this planter, but you could have someone else do that for you if that's not accessible to you. And I'm sitting with my legs on either side of the planter right here, and I'm just dropping with gravity and like a heavy hand my small spade, perfect size for this, in, and then twisting it around to break up some clods. And I'm doing some twisting, but if your wrists can't do that, you can just do the dropping. And then I'm going to bend over to sort through rocks, but you could put it up on a table or even just on a thing in between your legs so you don't have to bend as far. Put it on like another bucket. So containers are great for rearranging ergonomics, not just in the growing of the plant, but even in the prep. This is also a thing, if you use a wheelchair, you can have the bucket set up on a step that you can work on from the side, and you can use something like this to your side, like this, without twisting your spine. If that's not accessible for you. If a twist is accessible for you, you can go to the side if it's within your range of motion. Engage the obliques and twist at your hips rather than curl over. The leverage is we're trying to use gravity as much as possible. So we drop, get it in there with just a little extra from our hand, and then you can also twist like this. So if you can't twist your individual wrists, you can grab both sides of the handle and push one forward while you pull one back. Even if it's just a little bit, you can hold it this way. So play with your ergonomics. So one of the amazing things about container gardening is that it gives you better access to this dimension, the up and down, the y-axis, whereas in ground you're often working this like laterally, and even if you raise it up, it's one fixed point that the bed is at laterally. These you can rearrange. So you've also heard me talk about, for those of us who can access a motion for a few minutes, but if we do it repeatedly too much, it can cause injury. Or if you are hypermobile, you can have a subluxation or a dislocation, or you can pull something really easily because your connective tissue at your joints is not behaving the way you might like it to in that scenario. Then reset your position frequently. Pay attention to muscle engagement rather than relaxing into a position and allowing your joints to take all of the support for the structure. And that can help keep you from injuring yourself later. Also keeping your muscles engaged if you have blood pooling issues like I do, by rearranging positions, by sitting, but still engaging your legs and your core, if you can help the blood get back up to the brain faster, because the skeletal muscles contracting actually can help with the vasoconstriction of your, I guess in that direction it's veins and arteries. Yeah, some thoughts on ergonomics. One thing to just be cautious of if you're doing this, spades can be quite sharp, and I've definitely cut through the bottom of a container before, so I'm not trying to hit the bottom and then twist. I'm trying to hit the middle of the soil. All of the buckets are prepped, are all gonna get the potatoes. And I think the potatoes will then go on the stairs and we'll have a little stairway to potatoes, which if you've ever eaten potatoes is kind of like a stairway to heaven. Except you don't even have to go all the way up to get the potatoes. I'm really excited to plant these potatoes. I'm gonna take a quick coffee break. Oh yeah, harvested some great rocks, which I'm hoping to use to finish the terrace finally. That's really exciting. Let's take a break. Junie, you were already on the break train. You said, you know what's up. Time for a break. Yeah. Everybody take a break. Everybody go rest. Even if it's just for 2 minutes. Right, Junie? Had a little rest break. Got out my labels so I can keep track of which potato is which. And then I got my potatoes. Yeah, let's plant some potatoes. Plant family that potatoes are in tends to be what we call heavy feeders, meaning they need a lot of soil nutrients. And so I'll continue to feed them either with worm castings or with fish emulsion and water or top dress with compost, which means put compost directly on top of the soil and then water it in every couple of weeks as they're growing, especially because they're in those containers. They have a contained amount of soil. That means they have a very set and limited amount of nutrients, so they can't reach further into the soil to find more nutrients the way they could if they were in ground. Thank you for joining me today for planting potatoes. I hope this inspires you to grow a potato on a balcony, or a potato in a container garden in your courtyard, or next to your car, or wherever you're hanging out these days. Potatoes do need sun. They're a pretty high sun needs plant, and they do need water. So they can't be totally ignored in the containers. They'll get watered. I'll water them every day, or I'll set up irrigation for them. They're right outside my back door, which helps me remember that they'll need hilling and watering and feeding, and putting them kind of in my way in a zone of high use is a good trick for not having to add to your cognitive load in order to grow new things. It's a beautiful day. I think I'm gonna keep gardening kind of slowly, gently, see where the day takes me. And I'll see you next time here on Disabled Farm School, where gardening is for everybody, and we're just trying to figure out how together.